Hello and welcome. It's a good day to be on the farm. My name is Chuck, and this is my used equipment challenge, Saving Up, episode 7. In the last episode, we sold our first 4 pallets of sunflower seed oil, and we had fertilized, and now we are planting our next group of sunflower seeds in March. So that's what this episode is going to be for the most part, is ups and downs with the planter, and probably some sort of time lapse because I don't know how else to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I just wanted to record a quick intro, and then I will jump into the time lapse, and I will catch you guys on the other side of that once it is all planted. And then we're going to need to go to April, I believe, to get a hold on, let me do a turn here. Turn that, lift it up, skip a row, so we need to come down here and start on this one. I believe that is this one here. Doing this from in the cab is a little bit different. And then we'll go ahead and lower that down and get going. And then we'll check our map. Did we skip a line? We did skip a line. Okay. Sorry about that. Trying it in from cab view because it just sounds better than this, where I'm outside and you can hear all the things. So anyway, yeah, this episode is going to be me planting in a time lapse, and then skipping to April after the time lapse so we can start our weeder, and that will probably be another time lapse. So kind of with one big field, it does take about an hour for each time I need to go over the field with an implement, whether that's cultivating, planting, weeding, whatever. So a couple of these before we can get to October and our next harvest. So anyway, catch you guys later. Thanks for watching. Welcome back. It is now April, so a couple of things have happened I want to go over with you guys. Number one, we finished the planting, which you probably just saw part of in a time lapse. And looking at the field now, they are on the first growth stage, but they look bigger than I thought they would. And I came over here to look, and the weeds are medium, so I'm maybe an idiot. We'll see. It says it needs a hoe. This over here is our weeder, but I believe the weeder only does small weeds, which is really disappointing that we just skipped from March to April and they came out as large weeds, or excuse me, medium weeds. So we're going to come into the field first and try this and just see if our weeder here can do anything about these weeds. I think I already know the answer, but I just want to triple check. So there is the weeds on the field. And we're just going to see what happens on this little section down here. So we're gonna, okay, good. We're not destroying any of the crops yet. So we're just going to come down here. and lower this, and I've discovered because it has the seeder, even if we don't have seeds in, we have to turn it on in order to make it weed, which is interesting. But we'll go ahead and do a little section here. And then pop out and see what we see. Weeds partial. So now it says weeds partial, and you can definitely see that we are doing something to the weeds, but we're not getting rid of the weeds. So that's interesting. So it's weeds partial behind. If we go in front of the tractor, it says weeds medium. So interesting. And I don't know if you can visually. Yeah, so there's tall weeds. And I guess. No, I can still see the same. I don't know, guys. Let me hop in the cab and we'll take a look. So here's what I was running into. This is the one that we have. We got it used. This one says pull out small growth weeds between crops, improving the field state. They can only be used in the first growing stages of crop. Additionally, you can seed. Here is a hoe that does small or medium weeds. So I think that would take care of it. This is 12 meters. This is 12.4. So slightly wider and would solve what we need. I don't see any other hose in the listing because it's just, yeah, I don't, that seems to be the only one there. And that is the same section where sprayers would be, and I don't think we're going to get a sprayer. I don't think. Let me just, okay, so let's go over to finances and talk about this because this is interesting as well. So last month in March, we sold 15,000 in oil from this last load of sunflowers that we did. And that was one tipper split between two small production factories producing 2 pallets each from October to March. So I had thought, well, if each one holds about 9,000, I can get you the exact number since we're talking numbers, 9,600 liters, we needed more production ability. So I was thinking, well, I think it was 36,000 to build. Let's maybe build a third and a fourth one so we can do that quicker. That way this year when we get the sunflowers off, we can double the amount of pallets that we can create between now and when we sell them again next March, for example. So I happened to look in the contracts after I was done planting, and I noticed that there was 3 weeding contracts. And I was like, hey, we own a weeder. Let's go do those. So I did 3 weeding contracts. So that contract income is $36,500. And we did hire a worker for one of those contracts while we were finishing planning. So that's what that negative 823 is. So anyway, all of this, I was like, oh, great. I'm going to make $36,000 in contracts to buy another production facility like those 2 that are right over there. Right over there. Anyway, I don't know now that should have probably been doing this whole row. I don't know what to do. I was gonna weed all of this with our weeder. It was weird when I did the weeding contracts, which I have a little video of, but I'm not sure if I'm going to splice it in or not. I wasn't able to see the weeds on the screen like I am here. Like it was just looked like fertilized. In fact, I can show you the 3 fields I did were 20. Oops, come on. There we go. Sorry about that. 25, 26, and 10 were the 3 fields that I did. But no matter what I did, I couldn't get weeds to appear on Oh, look, there's weeds on 6. I wonder if there's a contract for that. So 14 and 23. So yeah, look, here's a $21,000 contract for hoeing on field 23 using the one that I was going to buy. So okay, now I'm going off the rails because I can't decide whether or not I want to use this weeder and put up with the partial weeds because I don't know what that means. I don't know what partial weeds means. I don't know if that's still going to affect our yield or not. But it needs a hoe. So I'm going to take a look at this. Let's do this. I'm going to hire an AI worker here for 2 laps. Or for 2. We're going to start on the headland where we are. And we're just going to hire somebody. Tank is empty. I'm not trying to plant. See, this is the problem with having this little planter. It always thinks that I'm trying to plant, which I'm not. Can I not hire a worker? Can you take the cedar off of that? Okay, well, we're just going to shut this whole thing off because none of that is working. And we'll do that off camera. But I think I'm going to just go here. We're going to come down to this farmland here. This one is using a hoe. We can also come down here and do 14. But we're going to take this. We're going to borrow the items. And I don't know. I don't think you can use this on your land. I don't think you can borrow the equipment for a contract and use it on your land. But I'm going to sneak over here and try real quick. Because I just want to know if this hoe will remove the weeds completely. So sorry for the little back and forth. We're gonna experiment because I don't honestly know the answer. Point being was I was gonna buy another production for the 36,000 we made from doing weeding contracts last month after we planted, but because my weeder wasn't working right because we have medium-sized weeds on here, I was suddenly thinking, well, that's not great. Maybe I need to do this a little bit differently and buy this hoe and sell our weeder. So this vehicle is for contract work. Let me look. That's, yeah, it's killing the weeds because I'm driving on them. It's not killing them because the hoe's not doing anything. No, it's not. And then just to be 1,000% sure, let's detach that and see if we can pull this with our owned tractor, the one that we own. If we can pull this, or if it's still going to say it's for contract work. I'm sure it's going to say it's for contract work. That would be silly for you to be able to do it. This vehicle is reserved for contract work. Yeah. Okay, well. So this was the question. Do we buy this weeder or this hoe and replace our weeder with it? I don't know what partial weeds will do. Since we have this, let's take this over and get this started on a worker real quick. And I want to see what their field looks like. Because we could technically accept that other contract, but if it requires a hoe and we have a weeder, we're going to run into the same issue where because it's partial, we're not going to be able to complete the contract. So all sorts of fun stuff going on this time. Anyway, so I'm doing a couple of contracts This is where we're all planted up and just trying to figure out how to afford more productions, because I want to ramp up our oil production, and I think the way to do that is more mini productions. So that's basically what we're trying to figure out. I'm going to start this guy over here on a worker while I'm doing our field, and then I'll decide if I'm going to buy. I don't know, I'm interested to see what the partial weeds do. It seems like a silly way to... Oh yeah, this field doesn't have a entrance from this corner. Well, we're going to off-road it a little bit. It is this field, right? Field 23. So yeah, if we do... So he's doing potatoes, but he's got... See, he's only got weeds that are small. I bet I could use my weeder over here, but we already borrowed this equipment, so it doesn't really make sense. Let's start here. Is that doing it at 13? This is the percentage is not going up, so it's 0%. Maybe the field is just that big. There's our 1%. Okay. Well, that can travel quite a bit faster. We were like 11, 12 miles an hour there. My weeder was doing less than that. So let's see, steering assist. Let's go to AI worker. Work the headlands. Yes. Start on the headlands. Yes. Okay. Just gonna hire this worker here to let them go on this one. Since we've already rented the equipment from the contract, we'll come over here and help in a minute once we're done with whatever we're gonna do with our field. Just wanna make sure he gets going. So I think the solution is to take this back to the shop, sell it, and buy the same weeder we're using on that other field with the 36,000 that we made. No, I'll lower this. I just want to see what my max... Yeah, this one goes like 6 miles an hour, which is what I did those contracts with. That other one does like 12, which is ridiculous. Like, I wonder if I turn that off, but still drag it. No. Okay, I don't know what's going on with this one, but we don't need to plant oilseed radish anyway. And I don't think partial weeds is going to help us. I think we need to get rid of the weeds completely. So I think since we have the cash and we're doing weeding contracts again that require a hoe, this is what today is going to be, is weeding our field, weeding that other contract that we're got the worker on now, and then I think there was one more contract that required a hoe. I think we're going to grab that one too and just make it another day of weeding, and see what that gets us. So we're going to drop this here. I liked the used equipment, but this is still going to be way cheaper than herbicide over multiple years. So okay, so it currently would sell for 16,960 something. We're gonna go ahead and repair it for almost 2,000, and we're gonna sell it for 18. So we got more than our money's worth back from the repair. Yes. We're gonna repair our tractor since we're here, and then we're gonna buy that other, the same one we rented, but we're going to buy our own. This Pottinger that is small and medium. Still first growth stage, but that's not a problem for us. So now we have basically 16,000 left, but we're going to run. Let me check the contracts real quick. So we're doing that one for 21 minus the rental. And then here's another 8,000 here. So we're going to go ahead and accept this contract and not borrow the equipment because we own the equipment now. And I noticed that he was using a weight on the front of his tractor with a weeder. We probably should get a weight. Yeah, let's get this 1,000. Since we do a lot of work with this anyway. All right, so we're going to grab this. We're going to go back to our farm. We will weed our farm. We will weed those other 2 contracts today. And then the last thing we need to do is fertilize. Because if I look at our farm real quick, if I take the weeds off for just a second, we've got 1 stage on from before. So we're going to do a second stage today now that we have a growth stage on. So that's kind of the plan for April is weeding the field and fertilizing the field. And then we're going to be ready to rock. I think October is when we harvest. So then there's not a lot for us to do the rest of the summer other than get a couple more productions. So my goal is maybe work a few contracts to get us up to 4 or 5 productions. Probably 4. I think 4 is a good starter. Double what we've got now. But I think that will take most of... Well, I mean, we took like 100,000 liters off of here. If each one holds 9, we might actually need more, but we'll see. Anyway, so since we have the partial state, let's see what happens when we do this. So we're going to take this at 12.4 for us. That's so much nicer. We can do this at 15 miles an hour. That is amazing. That's going to make this a lot faster. I don't know what was wrong with that other weeder, but I do not want to drive that slow. This is much, and that looks so much cleaner. All right, we're going to do this with the weeder. We'll do those other 2 contracts, and then we will progress throughout the summer, grabbing some contracts here or there, and hopefully build some more productions. Anyway, sorry for lots of rambling. Thanks for sticking out while I sorted that out. I think this is the right move, and we'll keep on keeping on. Catch you guys in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.